This is the homework for the segment addition. What I want you to do is I want you to do the even. I want you to do the even problems. So I'm going to do the odd. So it says for exercise 1 through 6, use the figure below to find the length of each segment. So if I want to find the length of AB, it's going to be the absolute value, -4, minus -1. Now we know that the minus and negative become positive. So -4 plus 1 gives you the absolute value of -3, which the distance is 3. For question 3, we're going to find the distance from A to C. So you're going to use a location and just find the distance by subtraction. So A, we know, is going to be -4. That's a location of A, minus 4. And you're going to find the absolute value. Remember what I taught you in class? The absolute value is just the distance from 0. So if we have -8, the distance of -8 compared to 0 is 8. So that is the length of the segment. So what you want to do is use the absolute value to find the distance. Now you can count. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I really would like for you to get in the hang of using the absolute value. I'm going to go ahead and erase that. Now we're going to find the distance from B to D. We know that B is -1 minus 5. So we have -1 minus 5, which is going to give you the absolute value of -6. And we know the distance from -6 to 0 is 6. If you wanted to verify, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you notice that the distance between B and D is 6. We're going to use the figure to the right. We have point P, point Q, and point R. And it says if PQ is 7, so I know that from P to Q, that's 7. And I know from Q to R, that's 10. You want to find the distance from P to R. So what you're going to do is you're going to add the distance from P to Q. And I do want you to write this. You have P to Q plus the distance from Q to R. And we know that it's going to be 7 plus 10 gives you 17. I'm going to go ahead and do number 9. We know the distance from P to R is 19. I know the distance from Q to R is 12. So you know that to find the distance of P to Q, you're going to have to find the distance of P to R minus Q to R. So P to R is 19 minus 12 gives you 7. The distance is 7. It says use the number line below for exercises 10 through 15. Tell whether the segments are congruent. In other words, if two segments are congruent, then their distance is the same. And I said I would do the odd. So I got to find the distance from G to H. So I'm going to use the absolute value. And we have -10 minus -6. And that's the distance from G to H. So -10, a minus and a negative become positive. -10 plus 6 gives you -4. But remember, we're talking about absolute value. We're talking about the distance from 0. So the distance is 4. So that's from G This is G to H. Now you have to find the distance from I to K. So how do you find the distance from I to K? It's going to be the absolute value, the location of I, which is -2, and you're going to subtract -2 minus 2, and you find the absolute value. -2 minus 2 gives you the absolute value of -4. So -4 is how far from 0? It's 4. So you notice that the two are congruent. So this is how you write the statement. You have line segment GH, and then you have that congruent statement, and then you have IK. For number 13, it's asking whether the distance from I to J is the same as from J to K. So we got to check if it's congruent. So if I want to find the distance from I to J, I'm going to go ahead and start with the location of I, which is the absolute value of -2, minus J, which is 0. And so we have -2 minus 0, which gives us the absolute value of -2, which is 2. So now we got to find the distance from J to K. Absolute value, so we're going to start at J. So we have 0, and then minus the location of K, which is 2. So we have the absolute value of -2, which is 2. So we can say that the distance, or the segment IJ, is congruent to segment JK. We're going to check whether the distance from H to K we're going to check if the distance from H to K, and we have H to K, is the same as the distance from G to I, because if it's the same distance, then we know that it will be congruent. So we have H, which is -6, K, which is 2, -6 minus 2 gives you -8, and you know you're going to find the distance, so that's 8. Now we got to find the distance from G to I. So G is going to be -10, that's the location. I minus a -2, and so that's a positive, so we have a minus and negative is +2, so we have -8. So the distance from 0 to -8 is 8, and we notice that the absolute value, we know that both absolute values are equal, so segment HK is congruent to segment GI. So we're going to find the midpoint between these two coordinates. It says find the coordinate of the midpoint of the segment with the given endpoints. So 17, we have negative, the way we find it is going to be -7. The location of the first point is -7, plus 4, and then we're going to divide by 2. Now, -7 plus 4 gives you -3 divided by 2. So that's going to be the actual midpoint, which is going to be -1 1/2. That's the midpoint. So if I were to draw a number line, and I had -7 here, and I had 4 here, then the point that is in between these two will be -1 1/2. That's what it's saying, okay? Number 19, we're going to go through the same process to find the midpoint. So you're going to have -6 plus -10, and then you divide by 2. So we want to find the location that is in between those two. So -6 plus -10 is -16 divided by 2. So -16 divided by 2 is -8. For the next problem, 21, it says use the figure to the right for exercise 21 and 22. They're telling you that the distance from S to T is 3x plus 3. The distance from T to U is 2x plus 9. I know that they're congruent because of this marking. That means they're the same distance. So you have 3x plus 3, and then TU is going to be 2x plus 9. Now, we know that ST is equal to TU. So what you're going to do is you're going to substitute each distance. And you notice that they're both going to be equal. So you have 3x plus 3 equals 2x plus 9. That's what we did. We went ahead and substituted. Okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to solve this equation by making sure that we want the value of x on one side. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3 from both sides. I do expect you to write all your steps. 3 and negative 3 becomes 0. So what are you left with? 3x equals 2x. 9 minus 3 is 6 plus 6. Now you notice we have the 2x on the right side. So we're going to subtract 2x. We're going to subtract 2x. And what are you left with? You're left with x equals 6. Your question is, are we done? And the answer to that is no. We only know the x value. So we got to go back and substitute into ST, which is a distance from point S to point T. So you're going to substitute the value of x. So you have 3 times 6, because you're substituting for x, plus 3. So 3 times 6 is 18, plus 3 is 21. Now we're going to go ahead and figure out the distance from T to U. So we know that it's going to be 2 times 6 plus 9. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 9 is 21. I hope these videos are helpful. If you have any questions, please text me on Remind or email me. Thank you.